Yeah, I was gonna share this story with you earlier, but now I guess I'll just share it while we're live. Last 2 nights ago, I went to a party that was really, really lit, and there was a really, really hot person at the party, and we chatted a little bit, and then later, her friend, who was also friends with me, she had to go pretty quickly because her friend, I think, was feeling sick or something like that. Anyway, the next day, her friend messaged me on Facebook and was like, "Hey, I just thought I should probably tell you that the friend that you met last night at the party, when she first saw you across the room, she was like, 'Whoa, who's that hottie?' And was asking about me and stuff." And I'm like, "The hottie thought I was the hottie." That's never happened before.
That's awesome.
Usually I'm the one saying who's the hot person over there. I never thought that the tables would be turned. So, just bragging. Not a humble brag.
Yeah.
Proud brag.
There's one time I talk about way too much where we were in Hot Topic, and you know how finicky
Classic
little Hot Topic girls
Sam
are.
story.
Right? So
I was in Hot Topic.
we were in
Hot Topic.
Yeah, we were in Hot Topic, and was just hanging out somewhere doing something, and then Summer comes up to me and is like, "So Sam, those 14-year-old girls over there have not been shutting up about how hot you are." And I'm just like,
there was
so great.
The first time something like that happened to me was when I was in high school, and I was in I really got into my gender non-conforming phase, so I would wear really baggy t-shirts and jeans and would try to look as masculine as possible. And this kid came up to me while I was in a store, and he said, he was probably like 10 or 11. He said, "Hey, you see that girl over there?" And he points, and it's like a 14 or 15-year-old girl. I think I was like 16 or 17 at the time. I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "That's my sister. She thinks you're hot." I was like, "Is it happening? Am I getting recognized as a man? Because this is the best day of my life."
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And then I pretended I wasn't trans for another 10 years.
No.
You love to see it.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I don't. No, you don't. You hate to see it.
The opposite of that. The other thing.
Hello, and welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
I'm Maddie Webben.
I'm David Bernard Houck.
And today we are coming at you live on twitch.tv/RPG Book Club for our season finale. Looks like we got one viewer right now. Hey,
Hell
one
yeah.
viewer.
It might be
We
me.
usually have two. One of which is me with my monitor stream, and the other one is Matt. So we'll see if who all shows up. But
That's weird, because I'm watching it right now, and
then
I
it's
don't know.
probably you. But yeah, I made us a new background for 4-player
looks
RPG Book Club.
really good.
The only thing that I just noticed is I forgot to update everyone's HP and MP and levels, so everybody is the exact same class and level and had the same name.
Great.
To
Nice.
have
We're
everything
doing
the
one
same.
of those. We're doing one of those special runs where it's like 4 white mages or whatever.
Yeah, this is the 4 White Mage Challenge. Except this HP at level 62 is 476. So I think this is Hero, so it's 4 Hero Challenge.
Nice.
Anywho.
But it is for white people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All Goudian.
Oh, Goudian.
He's a good boy.
I lost Goudian this week because I got a golem, and that's the only
got a
way I could beat the
golem?
final boss.
Goudian saved my life this week, and I will tell you about that later.
I haven't
Yeah.
got a new monster in a while. I bet Golem hits like a fucking truck, huh?
Yeah. He hits
And
like
has
a
a
truck
million
and,
HP and resilience.
and heals himself after level 20. He has
Whoa.
meditate.
Nice.
Jesus fucking Christ! Yeah, I don't have any good mons.
Yeah, he's a cheese strat because I was getting my ass handed to me. But
Anyway, let's go. I got to go to work early today.
yeah,
Let's
cool.
go.
Me too. So, screw how your week was because
It was bad. The end.
the end. The only important thing about my week is we are ready for Classic Game Fest, which
Yes!
we will be at in 1 week's time. So
really excited.
everyone should come and
Awesome.
see us. But yeah, let's get started. Maddie, take it away. What happens after we meet the Zenithian dragon?
Okay, so where we last left our heroes, we had just gotten our second airship, a big Zenith dragon. We were flying around on this dragon, which we talked about is beautiful and three-dimensional, and we go to the only place in the world map that we haven't already been to, which is the... it's like a big shrine palace-looking thing on top of a mountain. It's in that middle island where all the other secret things are.
So, question. In the first 2 chapters of this game, that place was called the White King's Palace. When you get there, it's called Crocodilopolis. Why?
Crocodile.
What changed?
Well, maybe we're building the White King's palace, and the White King was like, I named my palace Crocodilopolis.
I mean,
There we
maybe.
go. There we go. Yes, actually, I do believe that maybe the White King's Palace is in Crocodilopolis. It's the Crocodile Kingdom. Anyway,
Maybe so.
so you go to the Crocodile Kingdom and you do the Crocodile Rock. You get there, and when you get there, you find out that there's a lot of things going on. Most importantly, or secondly importantly, there are 2 locked doors, locked with the final key that we don't have yet. At this point, I didn't do this, but the rest of our players went and did a very important side quest that it's a required side quest, but not required now. So let's go ahead and talk about it, since everyone but me did it. So if you're not being a ding-dong, you might remember that so there was a side quest over in Monstroforato. You go over there, and our good buddy Alfred. Oops! God damn it!
Uh-oh.
I was getting a spam call. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Alfred Rigatoni. Alfred Rigatoni. For those of y'all who married Bianca, y'all don't know about this, but when you first married your wife, if it's not Bianca, he's like, he does that little side quest where he makes you go and look at a vase, to see if it's still blue. He does that again. He's like, you've really got to help me out. You've really got to go look at this vase and see if it's still blue. And if you and he's really worried. He's all in a.
If it's
right?
red, shit's going down.
Yeah. So if you explore the house a little bit, you do find out by talking to the maid and by reading a book that exactly like 150 years ago, awful, earth-destroying, horrible giant monster was sealed away in this vase, and the ancestor is like, oh boy, 150 years from now, or however many years it is, I feel real bad for my descendants when this seal fades. Ooh, watch out, buddy. So sure enough, you go and you check the vase, and it's red, and you're like, fuck. You hightail it back to the town, and when you hightail it back to the town, Mr. Rigatoni's not there. Briscoletti, there it is. I wasn't doing a bit. I actually just forgot his name. They're like, Briscoletti's not here. He already went to the tower next door to the town, which previously you could go to and didn't do anything. At this point, if you go up the tower, that's when you have a boss battle. So me and Bernard had already done all this and then gotten our asses whipped by the boss. But turns out the boss will just wait to destroy the world until you get up there, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty
So
sweet.
you go up to the tower, and Mr. Briscoletti's there, and he's like, oh god, it's red. I knew it. The big monster's coming. Hold on, I gotta peace out before the monster gets back up. Comes. I'll be right back. So he skedaddles. And then some amazing, super cool graphics happen where a giant monster appears and stomps over like a little 3-dimensional rendered world map with like a little 3-dimensional rendered town just so that he can stomp on it. And he's like, we're talking, he's like his foot is like the size of multiple houses, like very, very, very enormous monster. And you fight him. And at this point in the game, you kick his ass, right?
Yeah.
Anybody have any trouble kicking his
It's
ass?
hard.
Yeah.
It was tough, but I believe I one attempted it.
Since I
Yeah,
waited
it was
until
like
2
4
more
or 5
bosses to do it,
attempts
it
for
was
me.
stupid easy for me. I did it out of order. I know I did it out of order because you get less experience points from this boss than you do from the next 2 bosses.
Yep.
But yeah, so you kick
Which
his
like
ass.
you get like some like 95,000 experience points from this guy. I was like, holy crap, this is a lot. And then the next 2 are even more. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I'm just in the end game.
Yeah, so you kick his goddamn ass, and after you beat him, you acquire, I won't say necessarily from him or not, I think Bernard mentioned it's a little funny, it seems to sort of descend from heaven as opposed to being an item drop, but
And you
for
have to
whatever
jump
reason-
and catch it.
Yeah.
Exactly, otherwise it's a run killer.
Yeah.
So anyway, you acquire
So
the ultimate key.
y'all have made that joke about this ultimate key twice, and
It's a good
like
joke.
I know that it's talking about Super Mario Brothers 3, but I feel in my heart of hearts that it's about Bo on the Go, the kids cartoon, because like the whole setup of the show is they have a problem. The wizard shows up, says you need to go through these 3 doors, and they're like, okay, well we need to catch a key. It tricks kids into exercising, but one the stretch to get ready to exercise is a key flies in, and so you have to reach, and jump to catch the key. And so every time Bernard's like, you have to jump to catch the key, I'm like, yeah, like I'm Bo on the Go. Being a dad
That
has ruined me.
I was about to say, the world seems to look different when you have a child.
It really does.
You certainly watch different television.
That's for sure.
Anyway, so yeah, you reach, you jump and get the key, and now you have the ultimate key that will unlock any door in the entire game that isn't locked for plot reasons. You can then go and explore.
Yeah, I was
don't
mad
believe-
when I went to the next TNT board, and it was like, well, screw this, I have the key, and it's like, this door is locked. I'm like, yeah, but I have the ultimate key.
I
You
should be
lied
able
to
to
me.
open this.
Yeah. Although in that case, I feel like it actually makes diegetic sense in a way, because how do you actually finally open it? You fall into the room. So I'm thinking, the door is locked, and it's locked from the inside. There's literally not even a keyhole. Fuck you, you know. But although I feel like it should have said the door won't open. That would have made more sense than saying it's locked.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah.
So regardless, we can now explore the whole world and open any doors that we hadn't opened before. I don't think any of us bothered to do that.
I did.
Oh, never mind then.
I
Good for
actually
y'all.
went around and opened doors because the guide was like, go around and open doors. I'm like,
Actually-
all right, well, I'll follow this guide because I
Since we're
want
on
stuff.
this topic, the game does have an entire optional dungeon. Did any of y'all go to it?
Is
Probably
that
not.
the dungeon where you have to push stones over things to stop the monsters from appearing?
Yes.
I did
I
not.
did not even find that.
Cool. Let's chat about it later. But yeah, because I did it right during the final dungeon, right before the final boss. Anyway, so yeah, there is actually one final dungeon in the game that is blocked off by an ultimate key, so you can do it here if you want. So you got the ultimate key. You hightail it again. We're going to that place, the Crocodilopolis. And if you go through one door, you get nothing in particular. And if you go through the other door, it's a prison, or the locked gate door. You get the Nithian armor.
Woo!
So
Well,
our
you
boy-
do if you're not Maddie.
Yeah, if you're me, you forget until after the final boss kills you. Then you remember, oh fuck, I should go back and get the Zenithian armor. That's probably a good thing to have. So you go north a little bit, and you find out, oh, it's this big shrine, and all these people are in robes, and they're chanting. They're like, blue, blue, blue. And you talk to them, and that's what they say, and then 2 of the guards are like, you don't belong here, they're like, oh, you're going to be late for the ceremony. And then you talk to them again, and it's kind of weird. We discuss the triggers being strange.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're like, wait, you don't belong here, so you fight them. They're obviously monsters.
They were
and they're
super
snake
easy too, thankfully.
Armors.
Yeah, they're snake armors. They have snakes for arms, literally. So you go around and you're like, what are all these people chanting about? What are all these cultists doing? Huh?
I do want to say they're not chanting blue, blue, blue. That's an Earthbound reference.
Oh, yeah. Let's be clear about that. They're also not dressed like the KKK. So, anyway, you get up to the north, or the top of the room, and you get very surprised because your mom is there, Mata. she's leading the chanting, and she turns to you and she's like, "Hey, kid. Hey, my sweet, sweet boy. Guess what? That's right. I'm leading these chants. I have converted to Mormonism."
Happyism.
Yeah. And she's like, "Do you want to join me?" And you can say yes or no. And the reason you might be suspicious, aside from the fact that why would your mom be evil, that's weird, is that there have been a few hints dropped by party chat or by other NPCs that are saying that, oh, something mysterious is going on here. We shouldn't trust anything that happens here. We shouldn't trust anybody. So you say no, and she's like, "Really?" And you say no again, and she's like, could it be that you suspect I'm not really your mother? And then you say yes, and then she reveals that she is in fact a monster pretending to be your mother, unless you're Eli, in which case she says, "Join me," and you say okay, and then she curses you. Either way, you fight a monster.
That's
but
what the
in
guide
this case, you
told
fight a
me
monster
to do.
with 4 cursed characters.
What was that,
That's what
Eli?
the guide told me to do. It just said say yes. I'm like, okay,
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
guess
right.
I'm
Yeah,
cursed.
your guide actually told you to, which is very strange.
Bad guide. Don't use the IGN guide, it's bad.
Yeah, it takes a lot of like finagling to get through it. It's not like it feels like a "but thou must," and so it's trying to trick you into getting cursed. But you like adamantly say no like 4 different times. It's like no, and then a yes, and you finally get through it, and it's crazy.
Yep. And she's like, "You got me." Oh, and very important. As soon as this is not acknowledged by the cutscene at first, but as soon as you walk up to Mada to talk to her, you see behind her is the statue of your wife, your long lost sweet wife, who is the same age, the only person who is the same age as you, because of the time skip.
I also real quick wanted to mention about this guide. Not only does it tell you to say yes to what Mata says, it then tells you after the fight, use Sheen to remove the curses. So it's like it thinks that it's a "but thou must." So
I guess the guy just thinks it's funny that you get cursed.
Also, hi subject, hi. I see you there. That's one of my guildmates from WoW.
Hi, welcome.
What's up?
Thanks for coming to check us out.
Yeah, so one thing I mentioned last time that I want to mention again, if you go back after this point, after you defeat the villain, the bad guy, all of the weird cultists like snap out of it and they're like, "Oh, what was I doing?" And if you talk to one of them, it's I forget, but the sweet boy, the son of the person who owned you,
Georgie Porgy.
Yes, the son who was kidnapped when you were a statue. Georgie's like, I had a screenshot on my phone, but I won't pull it up. He's just like, "I have no idea what's going on," and I'm like, same Georgie, same. So yeah, so that's the first boss of this dungeon. Then you head into a dungeon deep down. As you head down, you realize, oh, this is the place where I was pushing rocks earlier in the game, or rather,
It's the place where you weren't
pushing
pushing
rather the
rocks.
place where I was watching NPCs push rocks and not
Well,
helping.
everyone else did it.
There's no longer any slaves because they've finished their work, but you descend through it, and if you talk to your party chat, they're all like, "Dad, are you okay? Like you look like you're having a lot of emotions." And you're like, "Yeah, it's called trauma, kid." Just like last time when you had all those those trauma flashbacks. Your statue wife does not turn unstatued. Apparently, in addition to being turned into a statue, she has now also been cursed by Lodja, maybe? Anyway, the point is you've got to beat the dungeon to lift the curse. So, you descend into the dungeon, and it's a pretty interesting dungeon. As Sam mentioned, there's a cute little part where you have to make use of the way that Dragon Quest stairs work in order to proceed, which is cute. You get through the dungeon, and whom should you see but it's Lodja, right? No, not Lodja.
No, the stair dungeon was like 2 dungeons ago. This one is the one that's the maze. It's it loops in and over itself.
That's right.
And
We already
there's
did that.
stealth bits, but I didn't do the stealth.
So you're now in a palace. It's a very fancy palace. It actually reminds me a lot of like Link to the Past is what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
The design of it too, the 2-layer design. Anyway, yeah, it's a maze. It's a pretty tough maze, but once you figure out the path, luckily you can get through it, pretty quickly if you need to leave and come back or whatever. And you get through the maze, and you don't see Lodja, you see King Coral.
That's it.
Yes.
King K. Rool.
King K. Rool, which we discussed whether that might be a weird latter-day Donkey Kong reference. Who knows?
Who knows?
If it
But
is,
he at least
I
explains
disapprove.
why it's... I mean, this is why it's called Crocodilopolis, because there's a big old crocodile waiting for you.
Oh yeah, there you go. Anyway,
Wouldn't it be embarrassing for them if it turned out it was actually an alligator?
It's Alligatopolis, I told you.
Doesn't sound as good. Yeah, so you fight King K. Rool, and I had a hell of a time with this boss. I believe it took me 2 or 3 tries. Y'all kicked his ass, right?
Yeah,
I think I did.
I think I did
Nice.
1 try at King Coral.
I
I-
probably
the first-
did because I'm really good at video games.
This boss is the first boss in the game to use the second heightened level of breath attacks. And you know what? I know we're trying to rush through, but I will briefly explain it because it is useful to know. Eli, as a person new to the Dragon Quest series, was very surprised by these things called breath attacks, although he figured them out on his own, which is great.
I lost you, Maddie.
Huh?
We didn't lose her. Did we lose you? Are you back, Eli?
Well, you're
Okay,
back.
yeah, I guess.
Okay.
It said there was a network error, and then I refreshed
That
Twitch,
would have been
and
bad
then...
if you had lost me. Anyway, breath attacks. Dragon Quest games have 3 distinct kinds of damage. It's kind of weird. They have physical damage, like most RPGs. They have magic damage, and that magic damage can take the form of elements. There can be fire, ice, lightning. It's not a hard-coded... It's not a
Systems
elaborate elemental system like in other games. It's not systematized. But sometimes there are enemies. Like if an enemy is like an ice dragon, the ice will do 0 damage and the fire will do lots of damage, but it's not a huge part of it like you expect from like Final Fantasy or Persona. And then the third kind of damage is breath damage, which is anytime if a dragon breathes fire or ice, or a creature says like they emitted fire or they gave off a wave of ice. I think it's just fire and ice in this game, at least.
There are other breath attacks, but I think those are the only damaging breath attacks. Because there's other things like there's hot breath, which paralyzes you.
That's
there's
right.
sweet breath that sleeps you and stuff like that.
Yeah. So breath attacks are actually considered a third category of damage. So to protect against physical attacks, you use Kabuff or Buff to raise your defense. With magic, in later games, there's Magic Barrier, which raises your magical defense. In this game, there isn't. All you have is Bounce, which is like Reflect, and just like with other video games, Reflect has its own dangers, because you can't, it'll reflect your heal spells and stuff like that. And then finally, there is Insulatal, which is the all-party version of Insulate. This portable version just skips Insulate. And Insulate...
Which I appreciated.
Yeah, Insulate makes I think it says a soft white light surrounds your party, which I always think is cute flavor text. And that pretty drastically reduces against breath attacks, and it cannot be stacked. Yeah, and luckily, if you get to this boss, he has, again, this... Oh, and also breath attacks always hit all. They always hit everybody. And they usually, whenever they first appear in the game, hit pretty fucking nasty. So this boss goes up from the first level breath attacks, which are all usually 30 or so, to the next level breath attacks, which are usually 90 or so, or 100 to all. So, thank God, our sweet, sweet son, Vince or Gohan or whatever.
Bender Jr.
Bender Jr. At this point has probably learned it in this dungeon, Insulatal. So you use Insulatal, you use Kabuff, bada bing, bada boom, you kick King Coral's ass. Right? You beat him, and then there's a cute little plot thing where he's like, I cannot be destroyed, and he's about to go into his second form or something, and then Lodja shows up and is like, yeah, fuck you. And Lodja kills him. I think it's some minion internal fighting. You know what I mean? King Coral wants to be the big minion, and Lodge is like, no, I want to be the big minion. It's not that important, but it is just it's cute.
Yeah.
So Lodge blows King Coral up with the big fireball. So you exit the dungeon, and our wife is finally back.
Yay!
And on the way out,
or Nira.
Before we get to our wife,
yes, very important scene. Thank you, Sam. We all forgot it last time too.
Yeah, our mom calls us on our cell phone and is like, "Hey, it's me. It's real this time. I'm so glad that you're alive. I've sent you this life ring. It will bring your wife back to life. So go live and be happy as you can in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Because don't come after me. I'll be fine." And you say, "Fuck that." And
yeah, she's like, final boss is too hard, don't come save me. And you're just like, you're not my mom.
You're not my real mom.
You were never there for me. Why should I listen to you? You're an absentee mother. Anyway, yeah, so you go and you use the life ring, thank you, Sam, to bring back your wife, and it's all very sweet, or if it's Deborah, she says something snippy and asshole-ish. And then, there's some plot stuff. You go back to it's not that important, though. Like, you go back to Gotha, and literally everyone is like, so you're just going to stay here and be our king, right?
Except Bianca, who's like, take me with you if you go somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do, just take me with you.
Yeah, Deborah says that, too.
And surprisingly, Sancho, who's like, this is his character moment if you choose to listen to his party chat. Because the whole time he's been like, all right, let's run your errands or whatever, and then we'll come back and we'll just
go save your wife.
Yeah, and then we'll be there. But like, if you party chat, Sancho is like, so these people seem like they're going to miss us if we leave, so we should leave before they get too attached, right? And he's just like, no, I have to save the world. I've grown up. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, Sancho is
sweet Sancho,
ride or die.
Yeah.
I love Sancho. He's so great. Who else is going to use Sage's Stone every turn?
Right.
Though, to his credit,
my
though,
daughter
he also
is going to use Sage's
a,
Stone every turn.
Well, to his credit, though, he's not just a Sage's Stone either. He does have a absolute bitch ton of health.
Yeah.
Which is actually very important.
He's very tanky.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's tanky. He thinks he just really loves Kim Jong-un. Anyway, so yeah, you tell him, fuck you, not my real mom. You go back to, at this point, you actually get to, no one tells you where to go, actually. They're just like, let's go to Nadiria and save the day. And I think it's one of those things where it's actually really good plot design, where it's like, no, you're on a quest, you gotta figure it out. And the characters don't even say you gotta figure it out, because you're the player character. You realize you got to figure it out. So if you're me, you go to a few different towns thinking, which of these towns is going to point me in the right direction? And then eventually you end up in Lofty Peak, because duh.
Yeah.
And the Lofty Peak elders tell you a little bit new dialogue. They say, oh yeah, that water dungeon, remember how there was a big locked door in it? Yeah, go there.
I was
remember how you have a key?
Yep, that's why you have a key. And if you're me at this point, you go and you get the fucking key. Actually, took me a bit, because they also said you need the three. They're like, you need the three stones, or the three rings: the life ring, the fire ring, and the water ring, to get into Nadiria. So I go north to the door that is locked, not having the ultimate key, and I'm like, how do I use these three rings to open this locked door? It took me quite a while. And then I was like, I don't know what to do. Oh, I guess I'll go do that side quest that I forgot to do. And then I realized, oh, you use the ultimate key to get in there, and then once you get through there, there's pedestals where you put the three rings. So you put the three rings on the pedestal, it opens the door to Nadiria. You go through to Nadiria. It is a whole separate miniature world map. The music is very dramatic and scary. You get to the town.
Your mother calls you again and is like, well, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, here's a really good item for you.
Yeah.
Yes. She gives you the Sage's Stone, which when used heals all party members for not a ton of health, like around 55
it's just a mid-heal.
Or
it's
so.
A mid-heal.
It's less than mid-heal.
Yeah,
oh,
it's
okay.
actually not as much as the Sage's Staff, but it's still good to have someone using it every turn, and if you need to, you can supplement it with multi-heal, which hopefully your son will learn relatively soon.
Yeah.
Here.
Right near the end for me.
Yeah. I think he learned it in the final dungeon for me as well. Anyway, so you go on through, and it turns out there's actually a settlement in Naderia, which we'll talk about in just a second, called Precaria. You get to Precaria, which is a Zoom location, which means you can now go back and get the rings that were opening up the portal. We all went back and got them because Sam reminded us to. I just realized just now that I forgot to ever equip them. Probably why I was having trouble at the end there.
I took Gudien out of my party to put in the golem. I took Gudien's heal sword, put the heal sword, the heal ring, and the heal armor on my hero, so that
shit's badass.
If I got wiped, I would probably survive, so that I could then zing everybody back.
Very, very good. That rules. So that was what we did last week. And then I was...
Well, we also talked about Cellular 2004.
Yes, we have a special treat coming for you. Bernard is going to review a movie, and you'll hear it at some point. We needed to kill time. We weren't doing it to kill time. It just naturally happened because we're dumbasses. But it did kill
really
time.
Well.
Yeah,
Pat Alfie episode with a relevant movie review. Anyway, so now we're in Naderia, we're in Precaria, we're in the town of the monsters. Now, Sam, you had a good time. You seem to really enjoy explaining the deal with this town. So please explain this again. What's the deal with this town? Why is there a town in the Dark World?
So what's really cool is, you get up to Precaria, which is so called because it's on the edge of a cliff, because this is Dragon Quest V as localized by Schlock. And
wait, I gotta repeat my joke from...
5 was localized by Alpha Plus.
By Alpha Plus. Well, still.
I have to repeat my joke from last week. It's called Precaria because they're all millennials living in modern capitalism, and they work for 2 different apps. And they barely make rent each week.
So you get in, and the very first person, I saved for my memorable moments last time, but fuck it. The very first person you talk to is like, oh, I hope that my best friend Rocket becomes a Gooman too. Rocket being the main character of Dragon Quest Heroes, Rocket Slime. And then there's a slime right next to him that doesn't say anything because Rocket is a silent protagonist, and it's great. Yeah, and so I'm like, wait, you turn into a Gooman, and then everyone talks with the monster dialect in there, and you talk to everybody, and they say that the water there is holy water, because when Mata first showed up, she blessed the water so that the monsters could turn human and not be literal demons anymore. And so they all have been living human lives here in this settlement, and thanking Mata for their humanity. And it's real cool and real awesome because it sells some good ass equipment.
Yeah,
it's a fun little town.
Good ass and expensive ass, but yes, very, very good equipment.
400 gold to stay at the fucking inn.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm glad it's a Zoom location, because every time I would die, I would go to Gotha and then come right back.
I will say, I just realized that, this place is literally like a dark world, right? It's steeped in darkness, and everyone is a little bit weird and unusual, and they talk just in regular English, but with a slight stupid difference. So we're basically in rock bottom. And they can understand your accent, thank God. So that's it. It's just a stop on the way, right? So then you continue on your merry way to the final dungeon, or you take a slight detour and play some TNT.
I had to go to bed, and I knew I was at work. I didn't have to go to bed. I had 1 hour on my lunch break, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and do the final boss, at least do a couple of attempts. Everything will be great. He's probably in this temple. Oh wait, it's a TNT board. Let me just burn the rest of my tickets on TNT.
This one wasn't too hard for me. But yeah, so even the monsters in the Dark World love TNT.
You said this TNT wasn't hard for you? I never even came close. I think the closest I got was 4 away from the end.
I must have just gotten real lucky. Yeah. Took me just a couple tries. The last one was a nightmare for me. It has a lot more traps and stuff, but it is actually shorter. Yeah, I think maybe if you just get lucky, it doesn't take that long,
Yeah, and what's cool about this one is there's a critical and a non-critical path. So if you're on there to farm gold, I was when I was trying to get the resurrection staff for Nera, I took the long way around, so there was no way I would get it, but there's a lot more opportunities for goodies that way.
Yeah. What
cool.
are the prizes?
to win it. I don't remember,
Yeah,
but there were.
Did anybody else win?
I
didn't play it at all.
It's so funny.
I know.
I remember the prizes being great, but then I probably just immediately equipped them on my characters and then forgot what they were.
A lot of the chest prizes are ultimate equipment for your monsters, like Dark World equipment that doesn't curse monsters.
Oh, yeah, I did get one or two of those, yeah.
My golem had this kick-ass evil sword and a helmet that made him crit more often, and
that
it was
ruled.
good shit.
Damn, nice.
It was good shit.
So yeah, once you're done with TNT, and of course the whole time your mom is like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Why are you gambling at a time like this?
Jesus Christ, come to the final dungeon already. So you go north to the final dungeon, which is called Mount Zugzwag, and one great thing about this, it's a Zoom location.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's just...
When Maddie told me that this game did a couple of things to break the Dragon Quest formula, this is probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Like your final world map gauntlet is usually part of the final dungeon experience, is getting back to the dungeon. And this time they're like, nah, you can just zoom there.
Yep. They didn't have to find some bullshit reason to have like a priest near, like in a shrine. Actually, when I went to the TNT, I figured it was a shrine. Actually, that might be the point of it. That might be like a joke, right? Like players go and they're like, oh, there's the final dungeon. Oh, and there's the randomly placed, totally like arbitrary shrine that the game designers put there because they knew I would need one where the single solitary priest runs his independent practice right next to the final dungeon. And you go in there and it's like, psych, it's TNT board. Anyway, you go to the final dungeon and it's a big one. It's a pretty big one, and there's some huge. There's some treasure in it. There's a lot of stuff going on. The monsters hit you pretty damn hard. The first half of the dungeon or so, the monsters are largely the same as the ones on the Dark World map. But as you go deeper, slowly they start phasing in new monsters and phasing out the world map monsters. It's especially once you hit the halfway point where there's some plot stuff, which we'll go over in a second. But before or after? No, that really nasty puzzle is after the plot stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Are you talking about the sliding or the grates or both? Because they both suck.
Oh, the sliding.
Yeah.
The puzzle was fucking hard.
Really?
Thankfully, the guide
really
was not bad during that part. Like, I followed it exactly, and it all worked perfectly, and it was great.
Yeah, I'm fairly okay at slide puzzles, and
I'm stupid, so y'all need to respect my stupid opinion.
But yeah, one thing that's cool. Speaking of the mobs, is
so we're going through, and oh no, you go.
Yeah, so what's really cool, speaking of the mobs, is right before the end, there's this one room that the only things that spawn are the Balibs or whatever that give you 1,000 gold per kill. And so if you need to grind gold, they give you a better position to end the Dragon Tower, finally here at the very end.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I didn't think about that. That would have been smart. I wasn't being super smart here. I was still...
When I was in Precaria, I pretty much sold off any equipment I felt like I no longer needed because I wasn't equipping it anyway. If it was like monster equipment, I was like, fuck it. I have the same monsters in my party that I've pretty much always had. Like, I've got Gudien, and I've got Gutrude, and I've got my Sabercat and Bianca as my caravan. So I don't really have a need for all this other stuff. And, like, one of the monster equipment things sold for, like, 16,000 gold.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I assume it was really, really good, but none of my monsters could equip it, so I was
Eli,
like...
I'm so proud of you for finally conquering your hoarder instincts.
Thank you. It only took getting to the end of the game.
Yeah. And our seventh game.
The thing is, I did the same thing because, Well, I was very similar actually because Dragon Quest really is has like a fuck it moment a lot of the time because it's like you could build your party so many different ways. You could go get all these monsters. There are some weapons that maybe aren't as strong as damage as weapon you have, but they have interesting side effects and can be used in battle. And part of your brain is thinking, oh god, I should put some thought into all of this strategy. But then the other part of your brain is like, or I can just say, fuck it, sell it, get a lot of money, and if that's a terrible decision and I just made a bad decision, oh well.
Yeah.
I'll just gain. If I just sold an item that actually could have been integral to my final boss strategy, fucking whatever. I'll just gain a level or two. Like, I did the same thing, and I made so much money, and I was just like, screw it. I'm just like, I'm digging my grave. Whatever. I'm gonna dig my grave. If this whatever happens, happens.
Don't care.
Here's probably a good time to mention. What, Sam?
Oh, the Staff of Salvation that you mentioned earlier. I actually didn't have one. I must have done the same thing where I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't need it, and sold it. And then I got one from TNT finally, and so I was like, all right, cool. Nice. Gohan, hold on to this. Heal if your sister dies.
I especially love when the game says, like, oh, if you sell this, you may not be able to get it back. And I'm like, don't give a shit. Fuck it.
Yeah, no.
I sold some staffs that I wasn't even sure what they did. I was like, maybe this has an amazing spell on it. Whatever, it'll sell for 10,000 gold. Right. Oh, this is probably a good time I should mention that you should not listen to anything I'm saying, because I did not beat the game. I did. Beat the final boss.
I
he kicked my goddamn ass,
and
I couldn't beat him. Sorry.
I beat it in one try, and I sold all of my shit, so you can listen to me.
Yes. Do the thing that both me and Eli did, but do it good instead of doing it bad.
Do it Eli's way, not Maddie's way.
I probably would have been able to grind and beat him, but I hadn't gotten sidetracked by the sliding puzzle.
Oh, yeah. Before we talk about the boss, though, we should talk about the plot that happens in the middle.
Yeah, oh, of course. Yeah, so you get halfway through, and the dungeon stops being, like, cavey dungeon, and you start getting these, again, beautiful fucking open 3D graphic environments. I love it. And you're, like, on these rocky platforms above the abyss, you know? And at one point, you're walking to the left, and you see, it's Mata. And you just know, this isn't a dungeon. This is actually your mom. And as you approach her, some monsters show up, and they're protecting her, or not protecting, guarding, I should say. And you fight them. Luckily, it's not a boss. It plays regular music and is not super hard. I mean, they are pretty tough enemies. They're special enemies, but they're enemies that you fight as mobs in like two floors deeper in the dungeon.
Yeah.
You fight them, you beat them. And then, you finally talk with your mother after searching for her the entire game. Sam, you want to cover this one?
Yeah, so this one hurt in a good way. I think I'm still crying, but so
it's like a roller coaster too.
Yeah, so like your mom is like, oh hey, you came and got me, don't worry, I'm going to like save the world, and then we can go home. And so she tries to go like Super Saiyan, and then Lodja shows up and like beats the shit out of her. But I think she gets the shit beat out of her off screen, and you don't know why, and then Lodja shows up. I think it's the
No. She's literally about to start praying, and then a fireball appears and roasts her.
Yeah.
Is it?
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I know.
I was like, it's my dad all over again.
She gets
goddamn incinerated.
Faint thing from effort, but I think that's in a second. Because I remember screen capping it because Nira had it earlier, and I thought it was great. But so she gets fucking roasted.
So it seems like Lodja has just stopped her from being a big hero and incinerated her instead, and Lodja shows up.
Yeah. And then you get to fight Lodja, and I don't even barely remember it. Like, it was...
Did y'all beat it first try?
I beat it first try. It was
easy.
Yeah, it was easier than the last Lodja fight, for sure.
It took a while for me.
Yeah. I think you need to grind, Maddie.
I did need to grind, yeah. I know, I beat her on my first try, but yeah, no, it was... It's got a lot of health, and it took a lot of hits. But yes, you beat Lodja, and turns out, thankfully, Lodja did not just kill your mom right in front of your face.
Mm-hmm. Lodja thinks she's dead, but then of course she stands up because she's a hero, and she goes to do the thing again. But who shows up but good old Papas, good old Pancraz, and is like, hey, it's okay. Come on, come with me. Let's go be in heaven together, and you've done enough. Our son can take it from here. I'm so proud of him. Go and be hero, and it's great.
We'll miss you,
and Pancreas. It's implied that she uses the last of her energy to somehow strengthen you or weaken the final boss. Yeah. In some vague kind of way, Yeah. And gives the last of her strength. And what's cool is that it's not her ghost that goes to heaven with Pancraz. It's like when she leaves, there's no body there, so
she gets
actually
raptured.
Huh?
Yeah.
She gets raptured.
Yeah, well, she actually ascends directly to heaven, like Elijah, right? Which is pretty tight. I mean, I feel like you basically won at life. If that's like getting the high score. If you get to bodily ascend to heaven, it's pretty badass.
Yeah.
So that's you have that beautiful sweet moment with your mom. You finally completed your quest, sort of. All that's up to do now is go and kick the final boss's goddamn ass after you do 2 really annoying puzzles that, for me, were rather difficult. There's a sliding block puzzle, the typical thing where there's 9 squares and 1 hole, and we've all played that as a kid. You slide the thing to make the picture.
But
in this case, you have to slide the thing such that the correct square is in the north. That way you can use that square to get to the door. What's tough is that you have to physically walk to the square you want, and each square has different entrance and exit holes. So you might be like, oh, I'll just move that square. And then you realize that you've slid the square you're currently on in a place where you can no longer... You've blocked yourself. It took me like 3 tries, but then on my 3rd try, I just got it. And it takes, I think it's like 5 moves. You have to like slide 5 blocks. It's very short once you do it right.
The Tetris J piece, but like rotated upside down. That's the order you do it in. You go do, and you get it.
Yeah. At any rate, I was stuck on it for a while. And then you go through more dungeon, and there's this part where there's lots of trap doors, and you actually have to intentionally fall down one trap door. Normally when there's trap doors in this game, there will be a bunch of trap doors in a room, and if you fall down one, they all lead to the same big open cavern room below, and then you just go to the stairs and fucking go back up, and don't fall in a trap door next time. But this time, one of the trap doors leads to a separate area, and that's where you have to go, because there's a staircase there that leads to where you need to go. It's a bunch of shenanigans. During the sliding puzzle, there's no bad guys, which is great, but during this shenanigans, there are bad guys, and they're
including
kicking your butt.
Metal King Slimes.
I never saw one.
I never saw Metal King Slime either.
Yeah, I killed like 5 of them. It was
oh my
great.
gosh.
I just got one.
Every other hit.
I think it drops. I think it's 100,000.
It's something like that. It's ridiculous.
They might have changed the
drop rate.
For the iOS version, because I didn't see any.
I saw none.
I bet it was just bad luck, because I only saw one. I don't think on iOS. Metal King Slimes are different than regular metal slimes and liquid metal slimes. They don't run away like the other ones do.
Unless you listen to Maddie's lies from last week when she was like, breath attacks is how you kill metal slimes.
I told you it depends on the game.
Metal slimes.
I said to try it. I said to try it. I know it works on Dragon Quest 3.
It made my King Slime run away when I breath attacked.
So they do sometimes run away, but it's not like regular metal slimes where the whole main thing is that they're going to run away and you have to just pray for RNG. They actually hit you pretty hard. And you fight them more like normal enemies. And hope they don't run away still. Instead
of like you usually get 1 turn, you get like 2 or 3. So they still run away, but they're going to hit you a couple times first.
Yeah. And anyway, they're not really that hard, actually. And they give you an absolute smorgasbord of experience points. So that's really cool. So anyway, finally you get to the final boss. Now, I have a question for y'all. Is there a heal spot in this dungeon?
Nope.
I did not find
Okay.
one.
Okay.
I didn't see one.
I wasn't sure because I did run into the final boss on accident. I mean, I got towards what was clearly going towards dramatic final boss, but then I got to that big thing where you go on the moving platform, and I was like, I haven't found a heal spot, and I definitely cannot handle the final boss. I think one of my characters was dead when I started the final boss.
Oh no!
I was in such a bad way. My characters had no MP. One of them was dead. And then it's like, I sent a screenshot to Bernard. I said, do you think I can win?
Wow.
I did not win.
So,
I spent most of the dungeon save scumming because you could quick save in a lot of it. And
Oh, really? Huh.
yeah, I found out at one point that your prayer rings can disintegrate. I had 3 prayer rings on me.
Yep.
oh, I
And
had
one of
already
them-
used all of mine to disintegrate.
Well, I found out they could disintegrate, so I restarted my game. I was like, I quick saved not too long ago, so I'll restart and I'll go back. What I started doing was when I got low on MP, I would use a prayer ring, quick save, use a prayer ring, quick save. If it disintegrated, I'd restart, and I just kept going like
You
that.
cheater.
Yep. Yup.
Yeah. So you probably found out via doing that prayer rings don't have a limited number of uses for disintegration. It is a flat RNG.
And it's great.
Flat percentage every time you use, which means it's on one hand a
looked it up.
nightmare when playing the game normally, because Yuji Horii loves to gamble and he is a motherfucker but also is a genius, but is also very easy to save scum.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine, some
Love it.
games it'd be like, oh, each time you use it the RNG goes up, you know what I mean? But nope,
Yeah.
not here.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I really appreciated that.
So yeah, I fight the
Yes.
final boss. I get annihilated. It could have been because I was in such a bad place when I started, but honestly, I just didn't feel like, given how much he was hitting me, I was like, So real
Can
quick,
I talk about the
wanna
final boss? Oh.
yeah.
No, you go ahead, Maddie.
Oh, I just briefly want to mention. I mentioned that optional dungeon. I just want to mention it since me and Bernard did it. I left because I realized I hadn't done things like, I don't know, put on Zenithian armor, etc. So I went back to go do some exploring and some leveling up, and I went to an optional dungeon. It's sort of in the northwest. It's sort of to the northeast of the of Up to 10 Towers.
Okay.
It's a cave. You go in the cave, and there's an ultimate key door. And you go through it, and yeah, there's sort of like a block puzzle where enemies are coming out of these holes. Monsters are coming from these magical spots, and if you cover the magical spot with a block, the enemies stop coming. And if you do all 4 of them, or if you do all the blocks, you get an amazing treasure. I didn't quite get the amazing treasure because I fucked up the puzzle and didn't want to leave and do it again. But there's all sorts of good treasure in there, like a Metal King helmet, which is,
Oh, nice.
I think the best helmet in the entire game.
Yeah.
Even for my son, it would have been a raise of his defense.
Yeah.
And there's lots of other great stuff in there. So if someone's listening and they're stuck on the final boss, check out that optional dungeon. It's awesome. Anyway, back to
Or
the
if
final
you want
boss.
to go
who
to
Eli,
do
huh?
what's his face? If you want to do Stark, the secret hidden boss who hits like a goddamn truck, you can go and do that.
Oh yeah, I
'Cause
heard that existed, and
I was about
obviously
to-
did not attempt to fight him.
I was about to grind the shit out of the casino to get my own Metal King equipment, but if there's some in a chest, fuck that. Fuck the
Yeah.
casino.
Yeah, go to that dungeon. Anyway, Eli, the star of the show, tell us about this final boss.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get up to Nimzo, and he tells you about how he's going to destroy everything. Blah blah blah. He has 2 phases, and
Which is
both
pretty good,
phases
just 2.
are yeah, but both are hard as balls. So
Yeah.
he has AOE attacks, so he hits your whole party with magical or breath ability, something like that, but Insulatal helps. And then he has Kasap, so he takes away your defense. He
He also has a breath attack that removes all buffs and debuffs from every person there.
it nullifies any magical buffs you have. So It was really tough. The first phase was certainly easier. Essentially, what I was doing was I had my hero and attacking as often as possible. My daughter was oomphing everyone so that it would double their attack power. And then when I wasn't needing to oomph with her, I was using the Sage's Stone to heal everyone. Pretty much every turn. My son would use Insulatal when needed, and then attack. And then Sancho, I was using him to kabuff, and then eventually would go to attacking. Got through the first phase without too many issues. I don't think anyone died. And then, he looks like Piccolo, by the way. He's straight up
King
Piccolo.
Yeah, he's very Akira Toriyama.
Thanks, subject. So we get through that first phase, and he transforms into this massive demon creature.
It's a blob.
And blob, he's a demon blob.
Transformation sequence is really cool too. Like his sprite goes all white, and then you can just because it's a silhouette, and so therefore it's easier to animate. You see his arms growing his extra arm and his tail coming out. It's this really cool.
Transformation it looks really
sequence.
Awesome. Yeah. And then oh my god, does he get hard?
Shit.
So he does his nullifying breath more often in this phase. So
like every other attack.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So while it was, and he does
you gotta keep
more
kabuffing
often.
every goddamn turn.
Yes. He also does bounce. So you can't use your daughter to magically attack him. It's just not going to work. So at first I tried using the same strategy, but I rapidly ran out of mana on Sancho. Because I was trying to keep up with kabuffing, and it just wasn't going to work. And it got real hairy. When you get to a certain part of the fight, he starts doing a heal on himself, and then he starts doing desperation attacks, which, depending on what your level is, will probably kill your character if they get hit by it, or at least bring them down to just a few health. So my daughter has something that makes her doubles her agility, so she always goes first, which is great. So I always had a chance to use a Sage's Stone first.
Agility's so important.
Yeah, I was trying to keep oomph up on at least the hero and Sancho, because I got a really good bow in Precaria for Sancho that gave him tons and tons of damage. So I'm trying to keep oomph up on the hero and Sancho. I'm using my son to cast Insulatal frequently because he keeps nullifying my damage. I've got to use prayer rings on my son every now and then to and multi-heal once in a while. So he ended up killing Sancho and both of my kids. So I was like, well, fuck, I'm completely boned. So I just switched in Bianca, Mohicat, and Gudien. Kept people healed with Gudien, and then I realized
the boys.
Yeah.
And girl.
So kept everyone healed with Gudien, and then the hero got hit really, really hard at one point, and I was like, all right, I have one chance to come back from this. So I brought in all three of my dead people again. Yes, I brought in all three of my dead people. I had 13 health on my hero, and thankfully I went before Nimzo, and I kerplunked, which brought everyone back to life. It took away all my hero's health and mana, but fuck it. Brought everyone back to life. I had enough mana on my son to use Kazing, and just kept going from there, and basically I was using my daughter to oomph the others and use her Sage's Stone. I was casting Insulatal when I needed it, and then I was just attacking. And I just kept going like that. And he was healing more, so I was like, okay, I'm really getting to the end now. And I fucking did it. Like, I think Sancho got the last hit in.
Nice.
It was so glorious. Like, I couldn't believe I beat it because it took so long. And I was playing too much of a defensive game at the start, but, like, it was really hard. Like, and there were a lot of times where I was like, okay, he desperation attacked, this character's gonna die. Oh wow, they survived with 3 HP. Fuck yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I...
Right. It's funny, Eli, when you said when you were leading up to when you did the Kerplunk. You go on, Sam.
Yeah, you're lagging by like 15 seconds, so it's fine. But yeah, so when I
did y'all lose him?
No. You're lagging. But so when I went and did the first one, it was really dang hard, and then I beat him, and I was excited because it left the battle arena, gave me experience points, and then there was a cutscene, which every Dragon Quest I've played so far, 1, 2, and 3, the final boss, when it changes forms, it does it in battle. It's like you kill it, and then the battle keeps going. And so this one, because it ended, I'm like, I thought that this just was new and different. So, okay, let me just be done. That was good. It was really hard. It took me like 3 or 4 tries, and then it's like, oh wait, here's a way harder one. I'm like, god damn it. And I was at that point, I went and found me a golem and cheesed the shit out of it, but it was still like intense when I finally got him down. Like, he has 3 phases. The middle phase is the meanest because he uses meditate, which heals 500 damage basically every 2 turns. So if you're not doing more than 250 damage a turn, you're up a shit creek. Thankfully, and oomphed golem after a focus attack was doing like 300 to 400 damage each turn. That's why it's a cheese strat, because every other turn you do a shitload of damage, and also he heals himself if he's low on health. So super fucking cheesy, but it's great, and I finally beat it there at the end.
I found
how'd it go for you? Yeah.
I found the first Nimzo to be fairly easy, and then I beat the second one. It took a long time, but I only had one person die, and I did it in one try, and nothing terribly interesting happened. I just found a good rhythm of... And it was really funny because the legendary hero who's supposed to beat the Demon Lord and stuff, all he was doing was casting Kabuff and Insulator the whole time. Tuppence was the one who killed the Demon Lord.
Yeah. Tuppence is the real hero of Dragon
Quest. It's actually
funny
because as I've said many times, well, maybe to other people or maybe just to myself, but also as Tim Rogers says in his more recent Dragon Quest 11 video, the Dragon Quest hero, despite being actually the best attacker usually in the whole game, or close to one, is also so good at everything that means he, by necessity, ends up being a support class. It's like, you could be doing a shit ton of damage every turn, but who else is going to do Kabuff and Insulatal and multi-heal? So the traditional Dragon Quest hero class is a support class, not by design, but more, or not by not by skill set, but really just by necessity. Yeah. I'm glad that y'all had a good. Yeah, this boss goes fucking hard. Final bosses in Dragon Quest games always actually go really hard. Just be glad it had 2 phases and not 7, like the boss of Dragon Quest 4.
Oh
Jesus! I'm never playing that game.
Yeah, same.
Or 14, like was... boss of Persona 3.
True. I think that I'm glad we have some good final bosses up in here, because I mean, I know we disagreed on this, but I thought the final boss of Persona 3 was an incredibly designed final boss. But most RPGs don't have great final bosses, so so we're basically 2 out of 7, basically. Yeah. Actually, I think that Xenogears' final boss is pretty good too.
I think Melbu was pretty good too. Melbu Frama was a decent final boss.
Yeah.
Who's Melbu Frama?
From Legend of Dragoon.
Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah, he had a bunch of phases. He had instant death attacks in the 5th phase, because why not? Why not do that on your final boss? He was
okay. The music,
lots of good shit. The music was bad.
Yeah.
So I want the record to show that you
I do
defended
feel
the
like
music
this
when we
game-
got there.
I feel like this game did cheat. It did make one mistake. It gave away that there were multiple phases by not giving the first phase unique music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I guess this isn't the final boss. Guess I'll
It's like because it's the regular
I guess
boss
I'll save
music.
some elfin elixirs.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like, come on, you gotta at least pretend like this is the final boss. Like, we all know it's not, but like, let's all just pretend like we're surprised when the final boss has the second phase. It's like a surprise party that you found out about, right?
Yeah.
So so we good job everybody except me, who is stupid and waited too long to play.
Do you want me to take the reins for the victory lap?
Yeah.
Since you didn't do
So
it?
you beat him and do the victory lap. So y'all all talk about that, and I'll listen.
Yeah, so you beat him, and then a big portal appears, and you because the whole of Nadiria is collapsing. So sucks to be everyone in Precaria, I guess. So you
They're monsters. They don't have souls.
so you go through the portal, and it takes you to Zenithia, and the Zenithian dragon is there, and he decides he doesn't want to be the Zenithian dragon because he has to talk like a stuffy. So he wants to be Dr.
Ned
Aegon again.
He
Flanders.
just wants to be Ginny.
Yeah, so he starts talking about how everything's scrumdiddlyumptious again, and he's like, "Hey, I'll be outside to fly you wherever you need. There's a lot of people that all want to see you." And you're like, "Okay, cool." You can touch base with the fairies while you're there. Like Honey and a couple others are in Zenithia, so you can talk to them, and they're just like, "Oh, we love you," yada yada yada. The only other like quasi important NPC is the guy that gave you the stuff earlier, the treasure, the grappling hook. He's like, "Hey, thanks to you, I don't have to live in the fireplace anymore." And you're like, "I don't think I was making you live in the fireplace at all, but okay." And so,
Why couldn't you just come out? Why did I have anything to do with this?
right. So then you get on.
I'm using
Dr.
"come out of
Aegon.
the fireplace" as a new "come out of the closet" euphemism now.
So you get on the dragon, and the first place you fly to is Lofty Peak. And so the first thing I do is I go and try and find that guy that said that he was waiting for Pancras to come home, and he's not there. He's not there. I went to that room. I looked at my screenshot to make sure I was in the right room, and the NPC is just gone.
I guess he fucking died.
That seems
then-
so intentional. Maybe he's somewhere else. You know.
So then I went all over Gotha, which would be, since he's from Gotha, you would think he would be there. But if you try to go anyway, I'm going to say Tuppence. It's not him. It's some other guard. But Tuppence is like, "No, come on, we need you upstairs." And so you go upstairs, and there's a big party for you in Gotha.
Yeah.
So you, like, even if he was the other place, it would make sense. You couldn't find him there. So it sucked. I was looking forward to that. I actually reloaded my save because I had
Quick
forgotten
question,
to do
'cause
it,
I
and
didn't-
he wasn't even there. What
I
was
have a
your
question.
quick question?
Is this an open victory lap, or is it actually guided
Nope.
in this game?
It's guided.
Dr. Aegon takes you
This
everywhere.
must have been when they started doing it.
Yeah, and so so first you go to Lofty Peak, and then you go to Monster Ferrato, and so in Monster Ferrato, I went and I talked with my in-laws, and Deborah was like, "I guess it's cool that you won or whatever, but fuck you," as she does. And I'm trying to think if there was anything
So,
special with
Deborah told
Briscoletti.
me.
Go ahead, Bernard.
Deborah told me, "Oh, I hear you saved the world. That's pretty good for the likes of you."
Oh
Yeah. If you're married to
Nice.
Bianca and you go into the villa, you'll find Nara there with Crispin.
Oh yeah, I
and-
went there and Crispin was with
finally made
Ashley,
it.
some
Oh, okay.
random person.
But yeah, Crispin and Nara are together, and they tell you how great it is that you saved the world. And Crispin's like, I can't believe you were my rival, but I'm glad things worked out the way they did.
Yeah,
See, Crispin getting up with some made-up person named Ashley is made up for this version of the game.
Yeah, yeah, I could tell she doesn't have a personality.
Yeah.
And
He
so,
just said that he's not lonely.
Yeah, and Mr. Briscoletti says, "Ho ho ho, tutti frutti," and
I love him so much.
So then you go to Gotha. I think you might stop somewhere else, but I don't remember. So
I was expecting
You go to a few
you stop in
places.
Wheelbrook.
Oh yeah, you do stop in Wheelbrook.
I was
and
expecting to go to Helmanoptera, but that didn't happen.
But
Like
yeah,
it-
you stop in Wheelbrook and it's been rebuilt. It's all like you remember it before it was. And one of your kids says, like, I guess the Coburgian soldiers must have let the people go before they burned the village down. So, like, after you saved the world, well, in like the 20 minutes, they've come back and rebuilt the town and are living there again.
Yeah,
Hell
and
yeah.
if you go into your old house in Wheelbrook, there's a guy. He's like, yeah, I'm not originally from here, but I heard that the grandfather, the legendary hero, used to live around here, and I wanted to be close to that. And they're like, this was my house, and he's like, what? This was his house? What? You're his kid? What? This is the legendary hero right here? Holy shit! And it's cool.
That's great.
So then you get to Gotha, and there might be another place, I don't remember, but you get to Gotha and you try to explore, and Tuppence is like, no, come upstairs. And then every monster that was in your wagon and every party member that you have and all of the NPCs from the castle are like literally on like Harry Potter Great Hall tables there in the main room of Gotha. They're all sitting around like laughing and having a grand old time, and so you can talk to everybody there. The monsters still don't really have that unique of dialogue, but you'll get a description with it, so they'll still just say like Zug Zug or whatever, but then they'll be like, oh, Saber looks really really happy and peaceful for the first time ever, or something like that.
It said like Gideon looked shy or something, which was cute.
Yeah.
Aw.
And
I
so
love
then
Gideon. MVP.
So then, if you talk to the priest who's up at his post and he's not as part of the party, you couldn't talk him into drinking this time, and so you go to talk to the priest, and he's like, "I think everyone's waiting on you upstairs." So you go upstairs to the throne room, and then everyone lines up to welcome you, and then the overture starts playing, and you get all those good Dragon Quest vibes, and you're welcomed back and thanked by everyone, and then there's really cool sprite-based, like, you know, the old-timey people dance where like the girls wear like bells on their wrists, and they're doing the like, and they like touch hands and they go around that shit. They do that but with sprites, and it's awesome. And so they do that as the credits roll, and during the credits it gives you basically a primer on the whole plot of the game, and it does like sepia flashbacks of all of the important cutscenes.
It has its own
I
memorable
love when
moments.
Super Nintendo games do sepia flashbacks. It rules.
Yeah. But yeah, the game had its own memorable moments, which takes us into our memorable moments.
Can I
yeah.
can I talk about mine first? I'm actually it's gonna interrupt my video feed because I have them as screenshots.
Okay.
So I
go ahead.
apologize
Yeah.
for that.
Aw,
Let's see.
bye.
Can you still hear me? Can you still
Yeah,
hear
we
me?
can still
Bye
hear
bye,
you.
Butterfree.
Okay, great. Yeah. It's okay. Butterfree will be back. Okay, where are my photos? There we go. I took a fuck ton of screenshots. Okay. So when you're in Precaria, there's a watermill, and in that watermill you can talk to this monster guy, and I don't remember what he says, but if you answer yes, he gives you an item called an Annulum Retentium.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I assume is some kind of book. But yeah, most of my memorable moments are from party chat during the victory lap.
Yeah.
So when we got to Monstro Ferrato, or no, this was in Wheelbrook, I think. I talked to my kids, and now bear in mind, both of my children are called Bender Jr., and I neglected to mark them as like Bender Jr. female and Bender Jr. male, as if they were Nitterans.
Still hilarious.
So I don't know which of these said this, but they say, "Yay, everyone's HAPY. I mean HAPPY." And
That
this
was the boy.
okay, this was after the nun had spelled
You
out how happy
stupid.
she was. And at another point, you go outside, and they're like, wow, everybody's dancing around and so happy. And I was like, I haven't seen a goddamn person dancing. And then I went slightly to the right, and there's people dancing around the fountain in Montserrat. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess they are.
They were looking off screen.
So, yeah. Stock and Barrel is one of the other places you go, which is Bianca's town. So you see Whitey and the kids get to meet their grandfather, and it's really sweet.
Yep.
They talk about how nice their grandpa is, and they hope they can visit him more often.
They won't.
But yeah, spoiler alert, they don't. So the guy whose kid wanted to be a priest, who he's like, I don't know why my kid wants to be a priest. He's still pissed off about his kid wanting to be a priest. He says, that son of mine's only saying he wants to be a priest now, of all things. Still, folk are saying the world's at peace again. Maybe it's thanks to my boy. I'm like, that's a lot to that's quite a stretch, but whatever. And then in Gotha, there's a bard you can talk to who sings a song, and it goes, there once was a fiend called Nimzo who messed with the legendary hero, but Bender Jr. was too strong. The foe sang his swan song, and the heroes from Gotha, don't you know? And you talk to your kids afterward, and he goes, Bender Jr. was too strong. Cool. It sounds better when someone else says it, though.
Nice.
And then I talked to Dr. Agon, and afterwards, one of the kids said, oh no, Dr. Agon's done diddly on it again. How's he going to get back to Zenithia? He'll be stuck here now, just like he was in the Diggory Pokery.
That's so good.
And then Bianca says, was that funny character really the Zenith Dragon? I've never met him before. Now I can see why the Zenithians were in such a flap. And then finally one of the kids says, I think maybe Dr. Agon wishes he'd been born a human.
Yeah.
Relatable.
That's
So,
good.
yeah, the party chat from those were all really great. I wish I'd saved more of them, but those were my favorites of them.
Yeah, I had.
Let's let
quite a
Bernard
few.
go in case there's any overlaps. Do you have any, Bernard?
Yeah,
Yes, I have quite a few.
go for it.
Awesome.
So when you're in Lofty Peak, you're talking to the people, and they mention how Pankraz came and ran off with Mata, and Bianca says, I didn't know your mom and dad eloped. Nice one! And I found that hilarious. Just like, fuck yeah, they eloped. Nice!
Cool.
And I also really like how you in all these towns you can go to the shops. Most of them are still staffed, and they all say things like, I guess people won't need armor anymore. I'll have to find something else to sell. I found that really cute.
I love the naivete of, like, no one will ever fight each other again now
Yeah.
that we killed Satan.
Yeah.
That's all
Another
it takes,
good-
guys.
Another good Bianca moment to make Sam feel bad about marrying Nira is when you visit Harry. Bianca's like, oh, Harry and what's-her-name are so happy together. We'd better not let him beat us in the happily married stakes. Come here and give me a kiss. I thought that was cute.
That's so
Then
good.
Smooching to
there's-
own your friend.
Gotta own
Then
the
there's
libs.
there's a scene where you talk to a nun, and she's talking about the goddess and stuff, and Lily, my daughter, says, isn't Dr. Aegon a god too? He's the dragon god, isn't he? Does that mean he's married to the goddess? Poor goddess.
That's awesome.
That's so good.
And my last one, when I was in Montserrat, I went to the bar and talked to the bunny girl there, and she's like, maybe I should get married. And then I party chatted, and Lily, my daughter again, said, I want to get married too, to a handsome slime. And I love that.
That's so
I
good.
support her.
Me too.
That's all.
Werewolf.
Cool. I don't really remember.
I just realized how it's cool that your wife is going and exploring all the places that you already explored, but she wasn't there. That's cute.
Yeah.
That is really cool. That's probably the best use of both Party Chat and Victory Lap that they've done so far. It's really cool.
For sure.
But what about you, Maddie? Do you have any?
I had a couple pre-end of the game that have already been covered. So, no. I probably would have had a shit ton during the victory lap, but I didn't get to do a victory lap because I was not victorious because I'm a loser.
Is this the first time that somebody didn't beat the game? I mean, technically, Eli didn't beat Rogue Galaxy, but Ken did.
I didn't beat Final Fantasy. I didn't beat Final Fantasy X.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I thought you didn't beat one of the games.
Xenogears, you aren't even... Your save got fucked up.
Yeah, what game was that? Oh, it was Xenogears. That's right. Yeah, I didn't get to finish Xenogears. So, yeah. Never mind.
And actually, I might tell you later. I won't say it on the stream, but yeah, in addition to the puzzles, what ended up happening was I had to deal with dog problems for like 3 hours.
Yikes.
Some things were happening outside in my neighborhood, and it caused every dog in my neighborhood to just be barking for hours. So me and my roommate were telling our dogs to chill the fuck out and trying to calm them down and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I was up till 5. I got 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah, that sucks.
And still didn't beat the game.
But, yeah, so before we move on from memorable moments, let's expand it back to the whole game. What was your favorite part of the whole game, starting with Eli, because it's your first Dragon Quest, so you can wrap all of your thoughts up into now.
I really liked the time travel bit because it really brought the game together. Because when you're starting out, you don't really you run into your older self, and you can tell it's your older self because he's wearing the same dumb turban. And
he never changes.
He's
his clothes.
He's like, I want to see your orb, and you can tell that this orb is really important. I couldn't really place why it was so important, but I knew that it was. And so, he takes it and he holds it and he's like, yeah, that's a good orb. Here you go, kid. And I'm like, that was weird, but all right. Moving on. But then you get to this part later in the game where the fairies help you go back in time, and you get to see it from the other side. And so you get to hear what you thought was a silent protagonist respond to you and say, oh, you better give it back. And you get to see yourself talking with Pancraz. The Pancraz bit where you're like, don't go to Coburg is good. Really, really, that was powerful for me because it explained why when we were going to Coburg initially, Pancraz turned around and started to go back toward Wheelbrook and then was like, no, I guess we gotta go to Coburg after all. But then, you get to see yourself from the other side of this little conversation with your past self and, seeing what you did with that orb that you now know the importance of, and just, swapping it out. And so, the whole fact that it was destroyed actually didn't mean anything because it wasn't the correct orb. I thought that bit was incredibly cool. That was, to me, the best kind of twisty moment to the game. And it, I guess it should have occurred to me that I would go back in time at some point, because if the older version of the hero showed up as a kid, maybe I'm going to play that later. But it just kind of slipped my mind. And then when it happened, I was like, oh my god, that's super cool. Mm-hmm. So I would say that is my most memorable moment of the game.
Yeah, and to tack on to it, will you play another Dragon Quest now that you've beaten this one? I'll give you a hint. Every single one of the games is exactly like this.
Answer wisely.
I absolutely would play another Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest 11 is on Switch, isn't it?
It will be next month.
It's coming to Switch.
It will be in the fall.
Yeah, in September.
In September.
So I'll probably wait for that then. As far as the games that we've played that I hadn't already played go, I think this one clicked the most with me.
Yeah.
I had a much easier time figuring out how things worked and playing the game more intelligently than I did the other games. And I mean, I used a guide to figure out where I needed to go, but like the guide that I was using was like, this fight is hard even at level 38, but you can still get through it. And my characters were like at most level 32.
Yeah.
I think Sancho was 32, the hero was 31, and my kids were maybe 30. They might have been 29.
Yeah.
And I was still able to get through it in one attempt. So, like, that made me feel good about it. It made me feel like I'm playing this in an intelligent way, and I could do this again. Huh?
I said, and there's no jumping.
Yes, that is a big plus.
There is jumping in Dragon Quest XI.
Uh-oh.
Damn it. Shit.
I don't think there's ever any actual platforming.
Yeah, I think it's just a thing you can do.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah, all the Dragon Quest games are good.
Yeah, and
I would like to go next, actually, if that's all right.
Go for it.
Oh, y'all can keep talking, but just put my name in there.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that all Dragon Quests are basically the same. What you see is what you get. Like, they definitely evolve from the first one to the 11th one, but like not in the way that Final Fantasy evolves every single time.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a Dragon Quest where, like Final Fantasy X, you say, this didn't feel like Dragon Quest to me.
Yeah. It's never
like,
going to happen.
You're never going to have that happen. Although there are, like, big mechanical differences and stuff that happen between different games. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all feel like Dragon Quest.
Awesome.
Yeah. Taking after that, I actually want to mention something interesting. This is, I know we're supposed to be, and don't get me wrong, I adore this game, I'm very posy, but one thing that struck me about this game, as a little bit of a slight negative, well, not even a negative, just something interesting. This is actually maybe one of the most loosely designed Dragon Quest games, actually. Mm-hmm. Because of the monster recruitment, because of how many monsters there are, and the randomness of it, the game design is not extremely tight. It's not like 3. It's not like 7 or even 11 or 9. It's a lot more like you just kind of wing it. You just kind of go with it. And I think they did that on purpose. They didn't want these hardcore RPG mechanics to get in the way of the story, right?
Yeah.
But it is interesting, and I would just want to tag on that if the battle system of Dragon Quest is fun to you, you probably will like other ones better than this one, actually. Because this battle system is just, it's the same, but it is looser, actually, which is interesting. And I didn't remember that being the case, but now I am. My favorite moment, the time travel again. So instead of adding something new, I just want to add some more thoughts on it because it's so good.
Yeah.
I love how it takes 15 minutes of playtime to get through the whole time travel thing. It's actually a very small part of the game, and without spoiling anything, I'm realizing this is a little bit of a Yuji Horii trait, because Sam, we've talked about this in private before, Chrono Trigger also has a actual optional side quest, the one involving Luca, that is an extremely short scene that is the most important thing in the entire game thematically, and it hits you like a goddamn truck. And brings, but it brings all the themes together. And when I'm playing this game, I realize a big theme in this game is how when you're a child, you don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Not only did you not know when your dad turned back, you didn't know why this mysterious stranger looked at your orb, you also didn't know what the bad guy's plan was. You didn't understand that the bad guy was actually paying people to round up children. You didn't understand that your mother was still alive, or you didn't understand that your father was looking for your mother.
You didn't understand that your dad was king.
You didn't understand that your mother was... You know your dad was a king. You didn't know that your mother was like a goddess saint who was protecting the world. You didn't know any of these things. So just... I love how there's so much about how... And then you go back and you go back to being a kid and do the flashback and you realize, oh God, like, I didn't know anything. And so that shift from not just growing up and becoming wise, like becoming intelligent and strong, but also becoming knowledgeable about the world and no longer ignorant, and the way that you view the world changes. But also it's got that nostalgic feeling. Like, it's not just about learning; it highlights when you are a kid and you think back and you say, you have that fuzzy nostalgia feeling for the time when you were innocent and didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And that all just snaps into focus in that little 15-minute scene. Yeah, and it's beautiful. And also, I think that my other favorite thing is I think that this game has probably, and it's, again, all Dragon Quest games are the same, so it's a toss-up, it has maybe the best soundtrack in the entire series. The town theme sounds just like every other town theme. The battle theme sounds just like every other town theme, but I think each of the songs in the game is barely the winner if you compare it to the other games, the songs in the series. Final boss song is especially great. That's my thoughts on the game.
What about you, Bernard?
My favorite parts of the game, one would probably be the victory lap. I just loved going and talking. There's so much good dialogue and everyone's happy. Another favorite part of the game would probably be the night before the wedding.
Oh, yeah, that
where,
was so good.
So good.
That beautiful music's playing and you're wandering around at night and it can go on as long as you want and it's just a beautiful moment. There was a third one I was thinking of, something I really liked. It slipped my mind. If I remember it before we stop recording, I'll let y'all know.
Cool.
Yeah. My favorite thing about this game was its theme, which didn't click for me until way late, and then I was mad because Maddie didn't warn me about this theme, and I would have named all of my characters different things. But the theme is fatherhood, both being a father and having a father. And so I was hit with, like, as always, I named my hero Bash. And so there were so many times when Pancraz would be like, you're so special to me, Bash. And then there's particularly one time where Mata is like, I wish that I could have seen you grow up, Bash. And I'm like, Jesus H. Christ. And then on top of that, you have kids the whole time, and so like you're trying to protect your kids. Kids love their dad, you love their dad. Pancraz is trying to love you. He's also trying to love his grandkids. Like everything is about being a dad, but not in like the dadification of games sort of way that modern games have. Like it's like a sweet take on parenthood, and it's real damn good. And I loved it. I
also have one more tiny little thing. The difference between the person you see as your mom, your kids see as grandma.
Yeah.
Which is obviously true biologically, but the difference between a mom and a grandma is stark. So the idea that, like, culturally, like, a grandma, you know, a grandma is a grandma, and a mom is... So, like, it's like, wait, no, this isn't grandma, she's my mom. Yeah. But your kids are like, oh boy, it's grandma.
Right. But yeah, the game was real good. So like up until the big twist, like that you're not the hero, but your son is. That's the twist. Spoilers for anyone watching. Why would you come to the finale if you haven't played this game? But the big twist that like is the one you don't talk about when talking about Dragon Quest V. Like Tim Rogers spoiled Pancraz dying in his review. Would not talk about this twist.
Well, he justifies it. He's like, look, man, the game's box art has your dad looking at you from the clouds, okay?
True.
But he could just be like Goku and fly on a cloud.
Right? Anything could happen. So like that's the big twist that you don't talk about. And when I got there, I was like, oh, this was the twist? Like, I don't care. Like, why is this the big one that nobody talks about? Why is this the one that you don't spoil? And so I kind of was like, this game is okay. But then, like, the things that arose from that was like it doesn't ever cross your hero's mind to be like, oh, okay, well, good luck, Gohan. I thought I was the hero this whole time, but it's apparently you. You have the quest now. I'm going to go be king. Like, you're always doing everything you can to help your kid succeed, and there's just so much dad all over this game. And
what's better than your kid being successful?
Yeah.
That's very reminiscent of the beginning of the game, too, where Pancraz is with you all the time.
Yeah. And it's just so good. And, oh my god, Pancraz had mid-heal, and by the time you get your kid, you have mid-heal, and your kid doesn't have any healing spells, and you heal your kid while you're going around to level them up. Jesus H. Christ, this game is freaking good, man. I hate this shit.
It's a good game.
I hate it. I love it. It's so fucking good. But we have a couple of questions. Only a couple. I think Matt has run out of troll questions, but I've been holding on to these for quite a while because Starcarver Ace, our good friend, he actually hasn't been very active on Discord or Twitter lately, so he has been writing us emails, and he wrote in his Q&A like episode 1. Like, it's been a hot minute. So this top one is real good. Top 3 favorite boss battles. Doesn't have to be from an RPG, and it doesn't have to be from an RPG. Why are they your favorite? Is it context, emotional reasons, mechanics, graphics, etc.? But what are your top 3?
I wish I'd known about that question in advance.
Right. So while everyone else is thinking, Eli, the second question is actually directly for you. Ace says, I don't know much about text muds, but I think the main character in The Impossible Fortress creates one. But how can I learn more about Sailor Eli's text mud, and do you recommend any good ones to dip his feet into that world?
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Thank you. First of all, that's awesome. I did not expect a question like that. So if you want to learn more about my text mud, that I work on off and on now and then when I get like bursts of creativity. The website, no www, is Descendis, DESCYNDIS.net. That is where I have all my world building posted. It's a forum. It's like a JSync forum that I just gave a URL to. It has all the information that I've written up about the player characters, the gods and goddesses of the world, little bits and pieces, like the classes that I have come up with so far that I'm going to need to pare down eventually because I've made too many. And I'm working on building the actual world itself, but that's a really difficult task, I found out. I'm like, going through each one, I'm like, okay, I've got ideas for this race, or species. I'm calling them species because I don't like the word race. It's loaded.
Amen.
Seriously.
Different areas with the different species, where the different species originated and where they primarily live, and I've got ideas for this and this and this, and then I get to one part and I'm like, I don't even know what to call this, and it's just getting really difficult, so I'm gonna need to stop for a bit. So yeah. I think I'm like halfway done with that part as far as just like basics go. But yeah, check out Descendis.net if you want to learn more about the world building that I've done. Chason from our Discord has been helping me, although he's been really busy, so he hasn't been able to recently, and he lives in Japan, so our schedules are like total opposite of each other. But he's been helping me with the actual mud itself, which is it's an open source Python mud called Evenia, EVENNIA. So I recommend looking that up. I think it's evenia.com, but I can't remember. But look that up and check it out, because it's got a whole lot of resources and information. As far as playing a mud to dip your toes into, I strongly recommend all of the Iron Realms muds. That's Achaea, Atolia, Listernia, Empyrean, and then they've got some space-themed. Like, the first 4 are all pretty much high fantasy, but with like different twists. So Atolia has like vampires and werewolves. Listernia is like all of the gods fractured themselves into these specific player characters. Empyrean is magic versus technology. They're all really neat. I don't play them anymore because one of the things I do want to warn people about is you have to be in character at all times when you're playing those games. If you're not, you can get punished. And that can lead to a great deal of drama. It was...
I can imagine.
Yeah, back in the day when I did play them, it turned out to be very not good for my mental health, because people end up seeing you as your character, and so any actions that you take as your character can come back and bite you out of character, which is stupid, in my opinion. For my mud, my hope is I want to encourage people to be in character, but for like private chat channels, you know, I'll probably have some public chat channel where you don't have to be in character. It's okay to be yourself.
Yeah.
Get to know people, who they are out of character, so that you can understand and appreciate them better when you're in character. And so that you don't let these in-character things that really ultimately don't matter because it's a video game affect anything outside of that. But other than that, they're really, really fantastic games. They're really well-designed MUDs.
Nice.
And yeah, I would recommend checking them out. Just be aware that that's a thing.
Cool. So, yeah. Did anybody think of boss fights?
Okay,
I am having so much trouble coming up with stuff.
Okay.
I have a deep and abiding love of boss fights. Okay, I've got two.
Okay.
One. Hold on.
Sorry about that.
One is, well, both of mine are actually multiple in one because I'm cheating, but whatever. My first one is the final bosses of Mother 2 and 3. They're both similar in some ways. If I had to give it to one, I probably would give it to 2. But those games both have final bosses that are both white knuckle and grueling and also extremely emotionally intense. That are fantastic. My second one is another tie. It's the end or the boss, the final boss from Metal Gear Solid 3. The end is a really famous boss battle, and every time I play the game, it is still just as good as it always was. That's the boss battle that's famous for taking like 30 minutes to an hour.
Nice.
Because it's not a fight so much as it's like a hunt. Like, it's quiet. There's no music. You're like quietly hunting through the forest for your opponent. It's got this cat and mouse mechanic that is, everyone talks about how it's great. It is great. The final boss is much more contained and tight, but it's also extremely emotionally heavy and has probably the best final boss music of any video game. Bernard knows what I'm talking about. So those are my first two.
Yeah. So, the first one that popped into my head, I don't know if I actually ever beat, but it's the final boss of Mega Man Legends 2. It's called, it's either Mother or Sister. I don't remember. It's probably Mother because I still haven't found a reason why Japanese games all have Mother. Yeah. Mother has the bad, has the Mother is the bad guy, but it is Mother now that I'm remembering it. But it like the whole 2 games of Mega Man Legends, not to spoil it because I want to play it on this game, but like you're trying to figure out who the hell are you, because it's not in Mega Man World or in Mega Man X World where there's Reploids everywhere. You're literally the only one. And so you're just like, what the heck is going on? Who am I? And so in the first game, you meet Juno, who is codenamed Brother. And then in the second one, you like go to the moon and you figure out that your name is Trigger, not even Mega Man, and you figure out all this cool stuff. And so like you're built up like, oh, Mother's going to be this big, scary, horrible boss, and you walk in and it's just like a girl that like a girl Mega Man, and you're just like, oh hey, like what's up? And she's like, okay, well as Trigger, you are the Trigger, you're going to blow up everything, so go and do that. And you of course say no because you're Mega Man. And so then she then fights you in like that form, and it's really hard. And then she of course has a second form because she's a final boss, and like you're like in this weird like quasi space area where like you're walking like Mario Galaxy like on a ball in a way that like you haven't in the rest of the whole game. And she like has lasers everywhere, and it's this big dramatic like emotional thing. It's like you finally figure out who you are, and it's bad news, and you're like, shit, I've been playing 2 games, I didn't want bad news. And so you fight it, and I think it was too hard for me as a kid, and I never beat it. I don't remember the actual ending. I just remember that boss fight being like good enough. If that's the ending, is I die to her, then that's okay, because it was epic. But that's the only one that I had.
I have come up with a couple.
Go ahead.
Okay, so there are 2 boss fights that I want to highlight from, or 3 boss fights I want to highlight from Metal Gear Solid 5. Okay. One of them is Sahelanthropus, which is just it's just a giant ass robot.
Yeah, it's that game's giant robot.
All of them have a giant robot. It's enormous. It is horrifying. It's just an absolutely amazing moment. I don't have a lot interesting to say about it, but then also in Metal Gear Solid 5, there's 2 moments where you have just these sort of gauntlets against a ton of enemies. One of them is the first time you fight the oh, Maddie, what are they called? The Skull Brigade?
Yeah, the Skull Unit. Yeah.
Skull Unit. Yes. These absolutely terrifying enemies. You have to fight a bunch of them all at once. And it's like one of the hardest challenges I've had in a video game. I was like, I don't know how it's possible to do this. But eventually I did get through it. And then also, one of the final boss things, the game just sort of has multiple endings that you just, but not like alternate endings, just like the game doesn't really have a specific thing like this is the ending. Just there are a few plot lines that you just sort of do as you go along. One of them ends with just you're in the middle of a desert and there's just tons and tons and tons of enemies coming at you, and you just have to,
unimaginable number of enemies.
and amazing music is playing, and it's great. Anyway, one more boss fight that I want to highlight that is not from Metal Gear Solid 5. If I had to choose one from MGS5, it probably would be Sahelanthropus. But another one is SAX from Metroid Fusion. Is absolutely terrifying, really hard, and I just love bosses that are the same size as you.
Yes.
Those are always
so
neat.
good.
Yeah, so your answers reminded me of my rest of my answers. So this one doesn't count because it's kind of the whole level, but the Scarab fight in Halo 2, like, that's awesome. Like, it feels like a boss, even though
It's
you
that
just
game's
run around the
version of
level.
a boss.
Yeah. And
Boss shooters are bad, so bosses are usually things like this.
Yeah, and so like that is just, it's so good. Like the level starts with like it blowing up everything, and you're like, there's no way we can stop it. But then of course Master Chief is like, I know a way we can stop it. I'm going to shoot it. And so you go through the level until you can jump on its back and literally like take it over, and it's so good. And then it's followed with the absolute best cinematic in all of Halo 2 Anniversary. So it's a good old fun happy time. But
I have thought of some.
Hell yeah,
Okay.
let's hear him.
Real quick, I had one more.
sorry.
So when Bernard talked about the basically Thousand Heartless fight, but Metal Gear Solid reminded me of spoilers, but it's 6 months, so it's not that big of spoilers. But final boss gauntlet of Kingdom Hearts 3, like, I'm not going to say who you fight or why you fight or whatever, but it's this long ass, like, you team up with literally every character in the entire fucking series, pretty much. And it's kind of like the Hollow Bastion sequence in Kingdom Hearts 2 that leads up to the Thousand Heartless fight, but like way bigger, way better, filled with a lot more crying, emotional cutscenes because it has to sum up 17 games, and it's it's real good. It was a real good moment. It's also because it starts with literally the part of Kingdom Hearts 3 that made me cry at like 2:00 in the morning, and it's good. It's so good.
So, mine are in no particular order. They're all kind of tied with each other. And I technically have 4. But the first one is the Bowser fight from Super Mario World. That was the first game I ever beat. And I, as a kid with, like an 8 or 9 year old kid with terrible kid coordination, it was really, really hard. And I, like, even now when I fight Bowser, I still get those, like, little, like, shakes, those little adrenaline rushes, where it's like, oh man, this fight is so hard. And it's like, it's a super easy boss fight.
It really is.
You just jump
But
on
I
it.
get
You
it.
just jump on a Mecha Koopa and toss it up at him at the right time. Like, it's not that hard. But I still get, like, that kind of adrenaline rush when I'm fighting him. Like, oh man, this is... Because I fucking bashed my head against that guy. I had a really hard time with it when I was a kid, and then when I finally beat it, it was like the most triumphant moment of my childhood at that point. The next one is the Mantis Lords from Hollow Knight. This was... So, all the bosses in Hollow Knight are pretty tough. This was the first time where, like, it really started to click that I needed to pay really close attention to how bosses were moving, because they did have specific patterns. And you kind of do a dance when you're doing this fight with how much you have to jump around and you know, attacking at specific times, because they're there and then they're gone. And you have to, like, you've got one boss that comes in and you fight them, and then you've got two bosses that come in together, and you have to fight them simultaneously. In the expansion, the Godmaster expansion, you have a fight where you fight all three of the Mantis Lords at once. And it's fucking crazy.
Sounds hard.
It is. But it's super cool. And I love the mechanics of it. And it's not like you're killing them. It's like you're vying for dominance, and afterwards, like, they all respect you, and it's really cool how after you beat the Mantis Lords, all of the Mantises become friendly to you.
That's cool. Oh, that shit.
Yeah, I love it. And I love praying mantises anyway. So, and then my third is a tie between the Flowey fight in Undertale. Sorry, spoilers for Undertale.
It's really good.
And Undying the Undying from the Genocide run. The Flowey fight is great because it's so fucking out of left field. And I mean, it's... The way it's framed is that Flowey has gone into your computer and has just taken a whole bunch of fucking graphics and mishmashed them together to become this horrible, hideous amalgamation. And it feels impossible when you do it the first time, but it's forgiving. The more hits you take, the less damage you're taking per hit, and things like that. And you can't die during the phases where you're helping the souls. And, like, the fact that all these human souls do come in and help you, it's a really powerful emotional moment for the end of the neutral run. And then Undying the Undying, because, again, that's a really powerful emotional moment. It's where you really start to feel the consequences of your actions for doing a genocide run. Because she is fucking hard. And, I mean, Undying is tough in a neutral run, but she takes it up to 11. She starts it out real slow and then just starts, like, dominating you. She's throwing spears left and right, you know, she's doing all this crazy stuff, and you have to attack her in order to progress the fight, because if you have to heal, then that just basically wastes a turn and things like that, and the music that plays is so fucking good. It's one of the best songs in Undertale. So, nice. Those are mine.
Nice. At the last second, we got two quick ones came in on Discord. So we don't have time to deliberate these. So gut feeling on these answers.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which JRPG has your favorite cast of characters?
It's Final Fantasy VI.
Good one. This comes from Cohen. What about you, Maddie?
I know he said we're not deliberating, but it's... Bernard, what you go? Is it Lost Odyssey?
It's probably Lost Odyssey.
And
maybe Persona 5.
I gotta say Legend of Dragoon. I'm sorry. Like, I probably shouldn't. But my other answer is Tales of Grace's F, which those are the only two games I ever talk about on this podcast. So I'm predictable, I guess. But,
Lost Odyssey is the only thing I talk about.
Yeah. What about you, Maddie?
Okay, fine. I just thought of it and then I lost it. I'm gonna go with Chrono Trigger, actually.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger is a really good
more
cast.
than you'd expect based on my only kind of high opinion of the game. But yeah, the cast of characters is the best thing in the game.
Yeah. And then a quick one from Matt. What is the weirdest JRPG that you've ever played?
Earthbound.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Just facing
Still
the account.
Still haven't finished it, but...
What about you, Bernard?
If we're counting action JRPGs, then I would probably say Nier. Not Nier Automata, the first Nier.
You, Maddie?
Does Space Funeral count?
I was going to say Space Funeral for mine.
Counts.
So,
it's a fake RPG, but it's still an RPG.
It's also not Japanese.
Oh, well,
But
They
you
said
don't have to be
JRPG.
you don't have to be
it's a
Japanese to be a
style
JRPG.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm just being me.
but yeah, I think because Zelda is a JRPG, I think the Majora's Mask is a close one. But that's just to
Majora's
make Bernard
Mask.
mad.
wait, actually, let's roll it back. The Saga series, any of them, mechanically they are out absolutely batshit. Everything in Space Funeral that Space Funeral does actually makes sense artistically, even though it is weird. I get what it's doing. Kawazu games are just insane.
Yeah. Cool. So that then I never even clicked over to the Q&A scene this entire time. I'm
Cool.
horrible, and also I don't even. OBS was mean to me today, and it's still being mean. But that will do it for this week. So the next couple of weeks are a little wonky. Eli got the job that he's been pining after. I think both episodes that we lost to time were when he talked about it. But he's been going for a job, and he got it. So our schedule's going to change. So normally we record here on Saturdays. We're about to start recording on Mondays.
Yeah.
But next week is Classic Games Fest. So we will record episodes with people at Classic Game Fest, and then record our movie night episode about Dragon Quest Dino Daiboken. Sorry, Scarlett started crying and my dad senses tingled. But we'll be watching the first 6 episodes of that, if at all possible. We might cut it down to fewer if they're action packed, but it's an anime from the early 90s, so it's probably not that plot heavy. But and then so then it'll be the first Monday in August. So the 5th will be when we start Cosmic Star Heroine. So if you don't care about all the bonus stuff, you have about 2 weeks to get started on Cosmic Star Heroine. We will be playing through the first 3 story achievements. So I don't know what they're called. I will know what they will be called by the time this has show notes. So when you can look in the show notes to see what it is. We'll be playing.
One's on. Sorry.
It's on Switch, Vita, PS4, PC, all over the place.
Okay, since it's on PC, I might be Let's Playing it then.
Cool. I don't know I don't know if the Switch version has like their own achievements put in. So if you're playing on Switch, you might not know when it is, but there's 13 chapters and you get a thing at the end of the chapter. There's no facts of this game, so I can't say what plot happens at the end of the 3rd chapter, but it's 3 chapters, 3 story achievements.
It's all just going to be a mystery.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Good luck to Eli because there's no guide.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
Meanwhile, my stubborn ass is going to have the same amount of trouble I always do.
Yeah. So then the other bit of stuff we have is not currently as I'm talking, but as soon as we get off stream, I will make the Lufia 2 JRPG canon live for non-backers. Yeah. And that also means I have to decide what I'm doing next. It'll probably be Etrian Odyssey. I don't know. We'll see. But so that'll be live, so you can check that out. Lufia 2 owns, and you can go see why. Then that is on www.rpgbook.club. Same with all of our other stuff. So definitely go and see all the cool stuff that we have there, like our links to our Discord, our merch store, and all of that. I actually finally bought myself an RPG Book Club shirt. I should have been wearing it today, but I want to keep it clean for Classic Games Fest.
I think I was the first one to buy one of our shirts, because as soon as you announced the store, I was like, mine! I'm getting one!
Yeah, I think you actually got it on Teespring, and that's why it wasn't showing up, because we switched over to Spreadshirt, because Teespring is a turf. And so, yeah, we have links for that there. Lots of cool stuff. I blogged on there twice this week somehow, for some reason, for JRPG July. I did a post about Radiant Historia, which is my game I've been trying to beat this month, and also about why Zelda is an RPG, just because it's good. And it's not actually about why Zelda's an RPG. It's about that Zelda is a Zelda-like, and it's not an action RPG nor an RPG. But it's because the big three genres of action, role-playing, and strategy don't mean a goddamn thing anymore. So in every game there's action. In every game you go on an adventure. In every game you play a role. Like, literally doesn't mean anything. But it's a good blog post, and I'm really proud of it. But other than that, I think we're done. So let's end this. I'm going to go play in the park with my kid. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I've been Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
I've been Maddie Webbin.
I've been David Bernard Houck, and thank you so much for letting me join you on this Dragon Quest series.
Yeah,
So glad
thanks
to
for
have
coming.
you, and can't wait for you to continue listening to us playing Cosmic Star Heroine, and the rest of you as well.
Yeah. So everyone have a good old-fashioned good old day.
All
Bye,
right.
nerds.
Bye.
Butterfree says bye.
Bye-bye, Butterfree.
I only got the Cyclops lady on my first try. Everything else was like 12 tries.
Huh.
Yeah, I was bad at the game this week.
It was hard.
I got them in one try, except one I had to do twice because I'm stupid and don't know how to charge my phone.
Well, yeah, that's a problem.
So I did die. I just died not to the game. I died
Yeah,
in real life. I
if you
died
die for
to
when
meta
your phone
game
dies,
elements.
you die for real.
Oh God. Well, that's right. Your episode.
It's
So,
like it's like Keanu Reeves in Speed, but like really boring.
If your timeline scrolls at under
55 miles an hour.
I don't know, under 20 tweets a second.
Y'all, there
you
is
will die.
literally an action thriller movie about someone who's got to keep a phone charged. It's called, like, Cellular or something. I saw it in theaters.
Oh my god.
That's
That's
It's because he
amazing.
has this cell phone, and there's someone on the other end who's, like, called a random number because she's in big trouble, and he's trying to save the day, but, like, he has to keep the phone charged and make sure he doesn't lose connection and stuff in order to, like, keep her on the phone.
Forward her call to the police.
she couldn't, like, write down
I
her
don't know.
number.
I
just
don't
in
remember
case.
that well. It was, like, 12 years ago or something.
During that precise time period you're talking about, aka, I know you said or something, but 2007, there were a lot of, like, gimmick action thrillers like that, with, like, weird, gimmicky things and nothing else going on, because culture was in a slump and there were
Remember
no
No, it
phone
was
booths?
2004. Let's see. Do you want me to read the whole plot summary? Probably not. No, I'm not gonna.
Yes. No, just do it. We're already here. Just
depending on
fucking
how
do it.
many
We got, like, 5
paragraphs.
things to talk about today.
Okay, well, we'll just do it, and Sam, you can cut this out if it's not funny.
Okay.
Jessica Martin, Kim Bassinger, a high school biology teacher, takes her son Ricky to the bus stop for school. After she returns home, several men break into her house and kill her housekeeper. The men kidnap Jessica and confine her to the attic of their safe house. Ethan Green, Jason Statham, the group leader,
Of course it's Jason Statham.
smashes the landline telephone
Go
hanging
I coulda-
on one of
I
the
should've
beams
just
in the
guessed.
attic. Jessica uses the wires of the broken phone and contacts the random number of the cell phone belonging to Ryan, Chris Evans, a carefree young man who has just been dumped by his girlfriend Chloe, Jessica Biel. This is just star-studded.
Yeah.
Jessica Biel being in it is definitely how you know it's a movie from that time
Jessica
period.
persuades Ryan to go
And
to
a
the
bad
police
one at that.
station, where he reports to Sergeant Bob Mooney, William H. fucking Macy,
when a fight between several police officers...
If there's a cop in a movie, it's either William H. Macy or Gary Oldman, and that's it. Those are the only cops you can have.
Excuse you, or my literal dad, whatever that guy's name is.
Wow.
I want to say Jim Caviezel. I don't know.
Couldn't tell you.
I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to.
When a fight between several police officers and apprehended gang members breaks out, Mooney is forced to intervene and tells Ryan to report the kidnapping to the Robbery Homicide Division. When Jessica denies knowledge of information Ethan wants, he leaves to get Ricky. Overhearing them, Ryan gets to Ricky's school only to see the boy kidnapped. He hijacks a security officer's car and gives chase. When his phone battery runs out, he takes the gun in the car, holds up a store, and demands a charger.
What the fuck?
I remember this scene. He couldn't, get the attention of the store clerks because the store was really busy. And he, if I remember correctly, he fucking, fires the gun in the air and asks for a charger. And then he pays for it.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Okay, that sounds like the...
It might be. I don't know. Again, I saw it in 2004.
That's so good.
A cross-connection between phone lines causes Ryan to rob a nearby lawyer's cell phone and car to maintain connection. At the airport, Ryan plants the gun on one of the kidnappers, triggering the alarm. When security intervenes, the kidnappers are revealed to be police officers, and they proceed to apprehend Craig. After viewing a news report of Ryan holding up a store for a charger, Mooney calls Jessica's home. He notices the voice on the answering machine is different from that of the woman he met. I can't keep up with this. The kidnappers escort Craig to his safe deposit box at a bank to retrieve a bag. Ryan intervenes and flees with the bag, but drops the lawyer's cell phone while being chased by the kidnappers. When Ryan opens Craig's bag, he finds Craig's video camera, on which Craig unintentionally filmed LAPD detectives Ethan, Mad Dog, Dimitri, Bayback, Deason, and Jack Tanner, Noah Emmerich, robbing and murdering two drug dealers, marking them as dirty cops.
Oh.
Ryan steals the lawyer's car from the impound lot and retrieves his own cell phone. Mooney returns to the Martin residence where he kills Bayback in self-defense when he shoots at him. Back at the safe house, Mad Dog learns that Jessica has been trying to contact help and attacks her. Jessica purposely cuts his brachial artery and he bleeds to death in seconds. I remember this. I remember this. She, as he's bleeding to death, she explains, that's the brachial artery, and you'll bleed out in seconds. And she knows this because she's a biology teacher, and that's also, it's explained why someone knows what an artery is.
Yeah.
Wow.
They covered all of their bases.
Would...
The rest of this movie just follows logically if you just set up those two things.
It all falls into place. Before Jessica and Ricky can escape, Ethan's gang returns with Craig and are about to execute the family when Ryan contacts Ethan and makes a deal. The videotape in exchange for the Martin family at Santa Monica Pier. At the pier, Ryan disguises himself but is inadvertently exposed by Chloe, who, if you'll remember, is his ex-girlfriend, Jessica Biel. Tanner sends Mooney away for medical attention, arrests Ryan, and brings him to Ethan. Ethan destroys the videotape, and Tanner radios the order to execute the Martins. However, Mooney overhears the transmission. Ryan escapes, following a distraction by his friend Chad.
Where did Chad come from?
I don't know where Chad came from. Mooney overpowers Dimitri and handcuffs him, then returns to the pier. Tanner and Ethan confront Ryan in a boathouse where Ryan knocks out Tanner. Ethan tries to kill Ryan, but Mooney shows up. After a brief chase, Ryan notices Ethan has circled behind Mooney and calls Ethan's cell phone. The phone's ring betrays Ethan's position, and Mooney shoots him. One more paragraph.
Or more.
Jessica strangles Deason with her handcuff chain in the van, then frees her husband and son. However, Deason was merely stunned as he aims his gun at them. Ryan intervenes and slams Deason's head in the car door. Actually, it just said slams Deason head in the car door.
Slams Deason head.
While Ryan and Mooney are being treated by medics, Tanner is also exposed because Ryan had copied the video recording on his cell phone. It all comes together. Cell phones, man. Jessica finally meets
Self-hard.
Ryan, the man
Everybody's
who risked his
got him.
life
What's
to
the
save
deal?
her family. When she tells him she doesn't know how to thank him, Ryan humorously tells her to never call him again.
Oh boy, that's wow. That sure is a thing that got made.
Film has a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Should we watch that instead of the Dragon Quest anime for next week?
Yes.